Hey everybody, Dan Furr here. Today I want to talk to you about the Roland Alpha Juno 1. Now I have a friend who was gracious enough to let me borrow this synth for about a month, and so I wanted to share my experiences with it before I sent it back to him. The Alpha Juno 1 is a 6-voice 2-oscillator synth. It also has a sub-oscillator, an LFO, an envelope, and a built-in chorus. So some of the positives with the Alpha Juno that I found were simply that, number one, it sounded great. But the biggest thing about this thing was the envelope. You'd think that having one envelope would be a bit of a limiting factor, but when you actually get down to looking at what the envelope can do, it's extremely powerful. The envelope actually it allows you to set a time frame in between each ADSR. So it allows you to set how long the attack takes to go up, and then it'll actually allow you to set how long it takes to go down to the decay, not just in terms of a ratio amount, it actually sets the parameter amount. So you can have basically a wet and dry for your envelope at every stage of the envelope, which is crazy. The stage between the attack and the decay, you can set the amount. The stage between the decay and the release, you can set the amount. And so it allows it to be an extremely powerful envelope, making you really only need the one and not feel like you're missing anything by just having it one envelope on the synth. Another positive is that the Alpha Juno has 2 oscillators. One's a pulse and one's a sawtooth. And it's kind of limiting that they dedicate it that one's a pulse and one's a sawtooth, but you actually get 5 different sawtooth waves to choose from, and there's actually 3 different pulse waves to choose from. So there's actually a fair decent selection between just the 2 oscillators. Another nice feature about the Alpha Juno is that it has a chord memory function. This is something the Juno 106 actually didn't have, and a lot of people were kind of sad about that. But the Alpha Juno made no mistake in adding it, and it has some power to it. Now the last thing I want to talk about is the tone modify section. Now this allows you to change the depth, the effectiveness of all your modulation sources. It allows you to add a little bit more brilliance, and it allows you to just do so much to the sound with very little effort. Take a look at how easy it is to just shape the sound with the tone modify section just by twiddling it. Some of the cons I want to bring up about this synth is that, one, it's notoriously hard to program. Unless if you have an external programmer or get an iPad hooked up and figure it out that way, using the Alpha Dial system is really not the most intuitive thing. It works and you can get by, but you're going to be spending a while designing a patch, and it's not really for live programming at all. And the last thing I want to mention is kind of just that the cabling is hardwired into the synth. And if you see what I mean, the cable is just naturally attached to it, and you don't have the ground when it comes to plugging it in. So there's a couple of things. The electronics are just a little dated, but realistically, those are all the cons I can come up with. I was a big fan of the synth. Apart from the fact that it was a pain to program, you can get an iPad app to do that nowadays, and there's some converters. It's not that hard. And even then, you can also buy a programmer for this thing. Yeah, it's a pretty pricey programmer, but it would be a nice addition for this synth, and you know, if those are the only two cons I can think of, it's a great synth for the around the 800 price point. You can't go wrong. Big fan of the Alpha Juno one. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. My name's Dan Furr. I hope you learned something and enjoyed a little bit about the Alpha Juno 1. I know I sure enjoyed this synth. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be happy to answer anything. So as always, have a good one. Cheers.